Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Today, I'm excited that we have the co-founders of Lunatic Fringe with us today. And something that I was looking over Lunatic Fringe's website, and they say there that the Lunatic Fringe family believes in offering a viable career that provides financial opportunities and encourages artistic growth. Their culture-based career path includes extensive business and technical training and one-to-one coaching focused on continuous performance improvement and meeting personal and financial goals. I think that's awesome. It's a great little mission statement and says a lot about, who you are, Shawn and Angie. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We always love having you, Shawn and Angie, onto our calls, onto our webinars, and all of our masterminds. And you definitely are two of my all-time favorite people, my all-time favorite leaders. And Shawn Chido and I started a podcast most recently, but we've also started a 6-month business and leadership mastermind course, Shawn. That's a 6-month course. And it's been really amazing to be able to work with business owners that are just getting started and or business owners that want to scale their business. And so you're in the perfect position for us to be able to really offer to our salon owners to be able to help them to figure out, should I franchise or should I not franchise? And so I would love to hear your story. You've been in this for a long time. So tell your story, how you got into it. Of course, I met you as a fellow Paul Mitchell School owner. And the minute I met you, Shawn, I knew that I needed to get into yours and your wife's life because you're so smart and so brilliant. You have that quiet brilliance about you. And so talk a little bit about how you got into this and why you turned it into a franchise.
Well, thanks, Tina. Thanks for having us on here today. And we have the same admiration for you guys. So, it's mutually beneficial, and we just love having you guys as friends. But, just to jump into it, I think, one of the main things that we wanted to create starting Lunatic Fringe was that viable career for our stylists. And, within a team culture is something that we really loved. And I think that was kind of the launching pad to what attracted so many people to us. Just the simple fact that, it was always team first for us. And then it's one of those things that, if you're taking care of your team, if your team's happy, then, the guests that come in, feel it, they feel the energy, and then they want to belong to that family. So that started to attract a lot of, not only stylists, but a lot of acquaintances that said, okay, we're hairdressers, we're looking to branch out on our own, and, we love what you guys are doing. So that's, really what started to kind of spark our interest in the potential franchise business. It wasn't necessarily to go out and conquer the world and open 200 locations. It was to help support and maybe offer, something great and something what we have to our friends and acquaintances in the industry. So that's how we kind of came to the franchising part of it.
Yeah.
So, and I do have to say, pardon?
How many locations now do you have?
There's 12 locations. There's 12 salon locations, and in those locations, there's about 8 total partnerships that we have. And I will say too, in relation to franchising, it's just one of those things that, one of those formal ways that you can protect your brand, right? Although we all have the best of intentions in terms of branching out and doing business with our friends, we do have to protect the brand too.
Yeah, I love that you said that about protection. So is that why that you guys both decided to do a franchise, would be to protect your brand? And so maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we did have a lot of friends and acquaintances that asked us to partner with them, but we felt like, if things continue to grow organically like they did, it was best to protect the brand, make sure the brand was insulated from, maybe, again, everybody has the best of intentions, but, we're also a creative group too. So we had to maintain consistency. This, the franchise system definitely ensures that consistency. And, that was of the most importance of us in the protection of the brand, is just making sure that, nobody took it outside of our state or opened in other states, far away, that, kind of took it in a different direction. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you, if someone wants to start a franchise, where do they get started? What do you recommend?
I think the first thing that you've got to do is, you've got to make sure that you have something to offer. What value do you have to add? What's your point of difference? And, obviously your systems have to be dialed in. They have to be as tight as possible. Obviously branding has to be a huge component to franchising. But most importantly, practicing what you preach. If you're going to sell a franchise, the home base, the mothership, the trainings, you have to be practicing what you're preaching, and you really, really have to start to inspect that your partner locations are doing the same thing.
Absolutely. Let's start with practice what you preach. I love it. We have Angie on, and I think that's awesome because I believe leadership starts at home. And what I've seen from afar, and every time I'm with the two of you, that you both lead very well at home. And I know that your partners see that, and I know they honor that and they respect that. Let's talk a little bit about how have you been able to balance all of it. That's always a magic word, right? Balance, if there's any such thing, right? Or keep aligned.
Sure.
All of your values. So if maybe the two of you want to talk about that, and how do you actually practice what you preach?
Go ahead, Angie.
Well, I think kind of the biggest thing for us is we're always willing to get our hands dirty, and our team sees that. And one thing that Shawn spoke about earlier was all the things that we do with having branding and, having systems for franchising. And I think we have an incredible team, and our team, we stay really well connected to our team. And then, whatever we ask them to do, we're always willing to do ourselves. You'll still see Shawn in there sweeping. You'll still see me in there doing double blow dries and helping people. And so we stay really connected. But I think as far as, the balancing part is just leading by example. I mean, we've never left the hairdresser role. We've continued to stay on the floor, even when we're not doing hair, or when we're in any of our businesses. We're making sure to connect with the team and, being on the floor, just doing, practicing what we preach and doing what we ask of them.
Yeah, I love that.
And another thing I'd like to add to that too is, when you're talking about balance, I think one of the best ways I heard this explained was, Jeff Bezos. He really takes the work-life balance piece in a different direction. He describes it as work-life harmony, because when you're talking balance, you have to take away from one and inherently give it to another. The one thing that I think has been great about Angie and I, and it wasn't so much more as methodical as it was intuitive, to just really listen to your gut in terms of, okay, we've got to scale back a little bit here, and we've got to move things in this direction or that direction, and that creates more of a harmonious I think concept in terms of home life, work life, and things like that. And we take it the same way in our company when it comes to marketing. Angie's been really, plugging away at the marketing stuff over the last couple of weeks. And, and then, I have some ideas and directions that I want to take and filter down to the team in the next couple of weeks as well. So, it's just kind of working and kind of massaging your way through this without it being painful.
Yeah, well, I love that.
Just to add to, I feel like probably the first, and also 12 years, we didn't really have any balance. It was all we talked about 24/7. And you know how that can be when you're married to your business partner. And we definitely, time. We didn't really know how to protect our personal time. And I think sometimes, you know, you've got to have that balance because in order to be creative, you have to be quiet in your head sometimes and just break away from just the hamster wheel. So I feel like it took us like 10 to 12 years to kind of find balance and find that it was okay to go home and decompress a little bit and not be talking about work every single second of the day. And it was, you know, when your partner's at home in business, it does kind of take over. And we had to do that the first really 10 years to get things going the way we needed them. And then after that, we were able to find the balance and add, you know, a little bit more, kind of protect our personal time and our home life a little bit more, but it took a long time.
Plus, we have a beautiful 9-year-old that helped force us into that mindset.
That at 12 years, I think that was a big eye opener for us to have a little more balance. And honestly, it really helped understand our team better that had family or had children, or, you know, those days they would call in sick because their kids were homesick, because Shawn and I never called in sick. We never had a sick day ever. So we never stood like, wow, you know, people calling in and this things going on at home. So it was great because it helps you understand what the family like is like for those that have children. And so, yeah, it softens you. It just lets you understand everyone's different lifestyles. So that was a good little change.
Yes, you have a little bit more empathy for people with children when you have children. And now I'm with the grandparent stage, so it's a whole different life for sure. So it's a lot better, by the way. Let's talk about that, because I wasn't even going to go there with this, but since you talked about it, is protecting your personal time, but you said you didn't really do that for 10 to 12 years. And it's interesting because I talk to a lot of brand new salon owners quite often that are just starting out their business, and I'm talking to them about the law of sacrifice, because I remember the first 10 years I didn't even take a paycheck. And so I think a lot of people are thinking, man, I'm going to have this beautiful harmonious life, or balanced life, if you will, in all areas. But no, not so much. There's going to be some areas that we do sacrifice a little bit here and there in order to excel in this area. So talk, what kind of sacrifices have you guys had, and what kind of sacrifices have you had to make?
That's a good one, because I think there was a lot of sacrificing. The way things happened for us, it happened so fast, and it's because we did sacrifice. I mean, there were times we missed holidays. I remember, you know, traveling or being gone on special holidays because we were out traveling for the Paul Mitchell School or teaching. We missed a lot of family events for many years. We stayed at the salon. We'd get there at 7 in the morning and we'd stay till 10 at night. And when we first opened, we did not have a washer and dryer because we didn't have room. So we'd go to bed around 11 and we would set an alarm at 1 a.m. Because we'd start the towels before bed, and we'd have to put them in a dryer at 1 in the morning and start a new load, and then set the alarm again for another hour to start drying the next load. So it was like having a newborn, really. I mean, it's the same thing. You're starting something new, and it just took all of us. And because of the space we chose, and financially we didn't have money to have a bigger space to start, so we didn't have that space to do our towels there. So we were up all night, every night for 2 years before we finally got a washer and dryer in the space doing towels. So our alarm went off at 1 o'clock and again at 4 o'clock, and then we were back to the salon at 7. And I remember we would oil our floors on our hands and knees every night because they weren't really, they were dry. It was this certain type of wood, and we wanted them to look really nice. So every night after the salon closed, we'd get on our hands and knees and we would oil them with a washcloth and oil before we left. So we were literally going 24/7. And I always say the best part about it was we were young. Like now I say, wow, I'm going to be 47 this year. Could I do that again? Do I have the energy to do all that again? There was so much, it was so intense to start it up on the level that we did. And, but I think things happened quickly because we were so dedicated, and we were both so hardworking and committed, and we were willing to give the time. And we gave it like 120%, 200%, because that's just what we did. But again, we'd wake up in the morning, and I'll never forget, I'd sit up, and we had this yellow shag carpet, and I'd look down at the carpet every morning, and I said to myself, I had to like give myself this pep talk because I was tired from being up all night doing towels, and it felt like Groundhog Day. But that's what it felt like for a while. It was like you had to keep doing the same thing over and over until you got to where you wanted to be.
Yeah, I love that.
And just to add to that too is, the thing that we're thankful for is, number one, we love what we do. We love the business, the industry that we're in. And number two, Angie mentioned commitment. If you're going to do this, you have to fully commit. And, when you fully commit, it doesn't mean things are going to be expedited necessarily, especially in this day and age. You got to be willing to put in, several years of really, really hard work, to really get to the levels that I think a lot of the expectations out there, are pretty high pretty soon. But, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And, commitment is the biggest piece, along with loving what you do. As long as you're loving it, you don't feel like you're necessarily working, although we were tired. And I think there was, ignorance was bliss for us at that time. But, those 10 years went by in a flash. And, we did reach, what we would perceive as a really nice level of success. However, sometimes when you look back, you wish you, could have slowed it down a little bit here and there.
Well, and I think one thing to add too, I talk to friends whose husbands are building businesses and they're home with their babies, and everybody has a different scenario. We didn't have children at the time, so this was our whole life. But they're like, they tell me, oh, my husband's always gone. He's never home. And I think the one reason that worked so well is we were doing it together. So it took up every ounce, every moment from morning until night, but we did it as a team. So we understood what it was going to take, and we were in it together, and that helped a lot. And, we lost people along the way who didn't believe in our vision. We had to kind of be there for each other. And I always remember one day when one was kind of breaking down, the other was strong. And then when there were days that, you couldn't make payroll, or you were wondering how you were going to make rent, the other one was the cheerleader, like, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this. And I always say, wow, we're so lucky we had each other. And someone was always sane in the process, right? Because there's so many ups and downs and so many emotions building business, and the hard times you get through, and people leaving and people not believing in you. And one thing that I think we really learned along the way there was not to really look outside and just to stay focused on only what we were doing, because a lot of times when people fall off or people don't believe in you, it's easy to lose sight of your vision or confidence. And, we learned this thing that just said, keep doing the right thing, even when the right thing sometimes doesn't feel like it's working. But we just kept doing what, we wanted to do, and going towards our vision, even though there was a lot of disruption along the way. And I think that's a hard thing for business owners, is getting through the disruption and getting through, the hard times, and kind of keep pushing through those times, and getting through them financially. So I think having each other there as a team really helped a lot, just getting through the hurdles. And when you say
lots of disruptions.
Yes.
And there's really no, really being present. And even to this day, it's so easy to want to look into the future and think, okay, when am I going to really feel like I really, really made it? And, it wasn't until our 20-year anniversary last summer, we had a huge party for our salon company. And, everybody comes up to you and asks you, God, how does it feel? You guys have been in business 20 years. And, Angie and I we really didn't look at it or think of it that way. But until then, when you have multiples coming to you saying, wow, you guys have done so much, in the 20, and it's like, what, we finally looked at each other and said, what, this is really cool. We really did do something. And, that was, I think, really special to finally make that realization.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
good.
think to add to that, like, salons, a lot of them do come and go. It's a hard business to keep open. And, we have so much credibility now in our community and in the industry because we've stuck to it. We've built a brand. I mean, like Shawn said, it took us 20 years to say, wow, we've actually built a brand, right? And, We have no shortage of people that want to work for us. You know, there's those beginning years as an owner where it's hard to find people that want to work for you. It's hard to find people that believe in your vision. And finally, that's, you know, not even an issue for us anymore. We have a waiting list. We have people that want to work for us, which is huge. Having, you know, that recognition as a brand, and finally realizing that you've done something that people want to be a part of. That you're not begging people to understand your vision. People get it and want to be there.
Wow. Okay, so that's the magic question now, because Shawn and I spent an entire month just on fixing your hiring practices, because I think first and foremost, in order to fix your hiring practice, you got to fix your foundation. You got to fix who you are, and that's exactly what you did. And Shawn, you said, what's your point of difference? And so, and I know what I heard you say was a viable career for our stylists and a career path. And I think that's probably one of the things that's really missing in our industry. It's just like, okay, make money, but there's no career path for these stylists. And so, but you were able to offer that, and then all of a sudden people were attracted. Talk a little bit about that and what else attracts people to you.
Sure. You know, when you're talking viable, I think we all have different perceptions on what's viable. What's viable for us at Lunatic Fringe is that our staff is showing what they're worth, not only, you know, in their books, not only in their monthly numbers, but their taxes as well. So for us, you know, it was really a vision of ours to make sure that our team members were showing what they're worth on paper. That's better for us. It's better for the industry moving forward. You see people buying houses, sometimes 2 houses. And, you know, that for us was, you know, that created that viability that we were talking about in terms of viable career for Lunatic Fringe.
And I think just to add to, we have a really strong program. So when they come out of school, we have a technical training program. So the foundation there is we're building strong stylists. And then we also have business coaching that we do with them, because we drop, you know, that's natural that a lot of hairdressers are artists, but the business piece is sometimes missing for some, where we talk about pre-book, right? Making sure that they have their clientele booked the next 6 to 8 weeks out. So, you know, they have a consistent paycheck. And I think that's something that's missing in the industry at times, is us coaching them on how to grow their business, how to pre-book, how to have consistency in their business. So we meet with them weekly. We do one-to-ones. We do a check-in with them. We look at their business with them. We look at where they're at. We set goals with them. So there's a lot of business coaching along the way, which I think, you know, that has led to the success of these stylists, and that they are capable of so much, but they don't know that until they have that guidance. And a lot of them are younger and need that. And then a lot of them just really need that check-in to know where they're at in their business. So we not only offer, you know, the artistic piece and the technical piece, we offer business coaching as well. So our stylists really excel, and within 6 months, most of them are doing really well behind the chair, and some sooner. We teach them, you know, we do a lot of marketing as a company, but we also encourage them to bring in new guests, and we look at those numbers with them when we meet with them. How many new guests have you brought in? What's your goal? We also offer helping them with their car payments. Can you guys see me still?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Something happened to my screen. We also offer car payments after they hit a certain point in their business. And that really motivates them to, you know, I'm going to get to this certain number, and they're going to pay my insurance, and they're going to pay my car payment. So we're really focused on goal setting. And I think that's important, because a lot of people just don't know what they're capable of. But, you know, we have the foundation, we have the structure. There's a lot of structure in our salons. And I think people really thrive on that. And, you know, they're working at a salon that has, you know, a reputation. So they're getting that influx of guests the minute they start. And then, but we also encourage them to bring their own guests in, and we monitor that. You know, I mean, if people are just sitting there building their business off us and not, you know, working the program or working for referrals on their own, you know, that's something we're going to talk to them about. So it's a team effort. It's a partnership in building their business.
I love that. What type of foundation and structure are you most proud of that you've set in your company? Because Shawn and I spent a whole month just on foundation and setting up systems, and most of them don't even have one system there. And so are you a commission salon? Are you team-based pay? What type of system are you following there? And then what other systems are you most proud of in your company?
We're a commission salon. And, you know, I think the one piece that we're the most proud of is really focusing on the key performance indicators of a successful stylist. You know, you've got the pre-book, you've got the new guest retention, you've got the existing guest retention rates, things like that we continuously follow. And then I think secondarily, I think the component that really sets us over the top is the business coaching that happens. That goes along with that. And like Angie said, you know, we ask them to partner with us. They help us set their goals. We're not just setting them for them. So it's a partnership, and it's got to work both ways. But, you know, when you talk about practicing what you're preaching, we really do that. You know, for the creatives that aren't necessarily keen on business, or it doesn't really, you know, turn them on to be looking at that kind of thing, you know what, we still have them sit down with us and we tell them the basics of where they're at. And, you know, if they don't start out with this thinking business, then, you know, it's not long until they really start to get excited about that piece. And, you know, there's nothing better than setting those goals and achieving those goals, and, you know, those endorphins that happen and stuff like that when you're starting to, you know, put your business over the goal line.
Well, and to add to, I know, I think Shawn's right. Our business coaching sets us apart. You can get education anywhere as far as styling goes, but that's a huge piece for us. Also, our customer service, the whole guest experience is a really huge focus at Lunatic Fringe. And it's something we've really focused on the last 2 years more than ever. And what's happening is people want to come to the salon. So I think our stylists really understand that in order to sustain their business, that, you know, Lunatic Fringe in itself is a huge part of what's keeping their guests and retaining their guests for them, along with, you know, them as a stylist personally. But that piece is huge for us. And I think people realize that that's part of their success. And I think it contributes to having low turnover. Because people know, wow, look at what they offer my guest. This is why I can charge what I charge. This is why I can do business like I can do business. I can show up for work. Our support staff is trained. There's an incredible guest experience happening, which helps me as a stylist to retain my guests.
Absolutely.
And I would just one more thing, you know, we really focus on team alignment. You know, we really need to make sure that our teams, you know, believe in the vision of Lunatic Fringe, and we enroll them in what that vision is. So it's not just Angie and I just casting this vision out there that we hope people sort of integrate into or hop on board with. Really what we do is we try to get feedback from our teams on the regular basis. We really enroll them in that process. So there's, you know, it's more of a shared vision, and there's nothing more powerful than a large number of like-minded people working towards the same thing. There's a lot of power in that, and we see a lot of really, really good results with that.
Well, and I think this might be a little off the subject, but we talked earlier about, you know, moving forward regardless, even when it's through difficult times. But one thing that I think is huge is we've really cut ties with people that don't fit our vision. And I know that's really hard at times for salon owners to do. But if people don't fit the vision or don't believe in the vision, we ask them to move on because obviously it affects the entire team. So that's kind of been a huge piece of what's kept our culture strong and kept, you know, a group focused on the vision, because everyone that works there wants to be there. And I think, you know, we kind of trickle that down to our managers. If someone's not a fit or they don't believe in the vision, you know, make sure that we weed them out.
So
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and just always know that when one door closes, another opens, always.
Yeah. What would you say that's some of my biggest mistakes, if I list big mistakes that Tina has made, and that is allowing people on my team that don't share my vision, and maybe because they're a high producer or something on that line, you know? And so what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made? And for me, it's also been not having those hard conversations when I should have, and allowing it to go on for years, you know? And so what things have you done that you wish you would have done differently that you're doing now?
Well, yeah, I think much like you, Tina, you know, early on, it's really hard to cut the cord on some of, you know, I mean, for us, it was less about what they were doing in business and more about the friendships that you hope to create, cultivate, and keep. That was the hardest part, and it still hurts when you lose a friend. But, you know, one thing that we do know more than ever is that when one door closes, another opens. But, you know, when you talk about regrets early on, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have a cash flow plan. We were just kind of, I think the one thing that we did have was common sense. We tried to pay cash for everything. We didn't leverage ourselves that much early on. And I think that really set a platform for a good, healthy business later on. But, you know, if anybody's thinking about starting out, really, you know, start out with a business plan. It's, you know, business plans aren't foolproof, but they do set a platform, and they help you make smarter decisions. And hold on just a second. Okay. Sorry. We just joined together. So now we're in the car together now. So I think, you know, the cash flow plan, in addition to that, try not to leverage yourself too much out of the gates, you know, really just sort of, you know, be a little conservative, you know, in terms of build out costs and expenses. You don't want to build the Taj Mahal. What you want to do is put yourself in a position to, you know, really grow out of where you started. And, you know, you can really create more of an organic sort of growth when you do that.
Oh, that's good. I think that's the number one mistake that people make. And that's why Shawn and I spent a whole month just on foundation, you know, okay, you don't have a business plan? Well, let's make one now. You know, maybe 10 years down the road, but let's go ahead and make one. And because I believe, and I don't know the statistics yet, I don't think we'll know until 2021, after quarantine and COVID-19 hit and affected all of our businesses. Talk about that for you, and what types of pivots have you guys had to make in your companies?
You go first.
Well, you know, in terms of pivots, you know, obviously this blindsided all of us. So, you know, it was one of those things that it was really, really difficult to prepare for. You know, we were like everybody else. I mean, we were up late at night, staring at the ceiling, sometimes crying, wondering if we were going to lose it all, right? So, you know, we had to go into our savings a significant amount to keep the businesses open like everybody else. The one thing that Angie and I did decide, though, is that we were all in on this. You know, no matter what it took, no matter how long it took, we were going to do what we had to do to sustain activity once they allowed us to reopen. Now, I think, you know, I want to preface this with, as we sit today, we were able to open back up in May, and today, as we sit, we're going to beat last year's numbers.
Wow.
At most locations, if we can stay on this trajectory, if we're not closed down again or whatever, you know, that's still the unknown. But if we can remain open, we're going to beat last year's numbers. And now I think the thing that catapulted us and launched us out of this closure was our systems and our commitment to the systems. And I think, you know, the icing on the cake is our customer service. You know, obviously, you know, we have the CDC sanitation guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. As far as I'm concerned, those things should have been happening moving forward.
Yeah.
Really just sort of really grab onto that and just know that that's something that's, by the way, a lot of people were about, the additional time it's going to take and things like that. It really doesn't take that much extra time. And, and I think additionally, yeah, it may cost a little bit more to do that, but that's okay. That's just the cost of doing business. But, as long as our guests feel safe and comfortable when they come into our location and they actually see this in action, it brings that extra level of comfort. And, they can't wait to get back. But, really, I think the launching pad for this, getting out of the closure, is our systems and our commitment to the systems.
Well, and I just wanted to add something too, Tina. Tom kind of told you the part of all the fear and what was going to happen, and we didn't know. But we rolled out a really strong plan and systems for our entire company of how we were going to handle it. And here's the difference. When you've been in business for so long and you have credibility in your community and people want to feel safe at a time like this, we took not just regular measures, but extreme sanitary measures. And we posted stories and things on our Instagram sharing how we were handling things. We had people walking around, for example, with spray sanitizer to each guest during their service. We made sure every 15 minutes people were wiping down handrails, wiping down door handles. So people were not only hearing we were doing things, they were able to see that we were actually doing what we said we were doing, and they were watching it happen. And, we have a huge location with tons of stylists and tons of guests, and we have all managed to stay healthy. So, one thing we also told our staff was, you have to follow these systems because we're saying we're doing something. And, we had someone's mask slide down and a guest mentioned it. And I mean, people are coming in looking and noticing everything. So that is really, we really stuck to what we said we were doing. And I think the credibility in the community was huge. And also, lastly, we had the epidemiologist at the University of Utah come in, and she's really well known out here, and she's for our state, and she wrote up something on our Twitter about how we were doing a great job. And then we started to see all these doctors in scrubs coming in. So it really pays to be extreme in your process. And so, and one thing I just wanted to add this lastly, we met with our staff and we reminded them a lot of businesses like restaurants and hotels are going to struggle, but we offer a service that people actually need, and we are blessed to be considered essential, as crazy as that may sound for people. We know we're non-essential, but to some people, they feel their hair was essential. All the memes that were going around, you saw that was a huge thing for people. So I told them we're blessed that we're going to not only, continue to do business, but we're going to be successful and we're going to have business. And so we felt very lucky about that.
One more thing that, just to echo what Angie was saying in terms of extreme measures, we do things like when we're finished shampooing at the shampoo bowl, we have white bowls. We take dry erase markers and we write down the time that we had somebody in that bowl and when it was sanitized, so our guests can walk in and see, that bowl was actually sanitized before they laid back in it. And, we on top of that, we want to be visual. We want people to see us taking these sanitation measures to the next level. So right when somebody leaves a cutting chair, there's a support staff member there with sanitizer and a towel, and we are dousing those stations down so people can actually see this happening.
Wow, that's incredible, you guys. I love this. And you're right, Shawn, what you said earlier is that we should have been doing all these things before. I felt the same way. Yep. I'm like, finally. And because it'd be interesting, I would walk into my companies and say, why is this so messy? And now all of a sudden the why gets big, right? And so the how gets a lot easier. People actually do know how to clean. So I got very excited about that. I want you to talk about, and I love the fact, Angie, when you were saying that 2 years ago, you kind of changed up your customer service types of systems. And I believe that's probably what set you apart in your companies. And because now I know in Michigan and Florida it's happening. I know in other states it's happening as well. I don't know about Utah, but we're seeing an influx of people leaving the salon and going into salon suites. But your point of difference is the team-based atmosphere, and the guests love that vibe. And I agree, because we have 3 salons and we have the same situation. We're actually doing better financially this year, and I know we're on a great trajectory by the end of the year. We're in the same boat as you, Shawn and Angie, and I'm excited about that. Talk about your customer service and your point of difference, some of the things that you're doing differently.
Do you want to speak to that?
As far as our guests.
Well,
Oh, you just muted yourself, Shawn.
You have to unmute yourself.
There you go.
oh, there we go. Okay. One of the things that we did at our flagship location as a prototype is we hired a guest host. So the number one job description for those guys was to make sure that every guest is touched in a way that they wouldn't normally get in a salon atmosphere. And that goes from, whatever beverage they want to, we offer snacks. We have a snack tray that they walk around with. Also, I think in addition to that, we do real-time verbal surveys. So one of the main things that we ask of this person is, go up, ask the client, was there anything that we could do better? Is there anything that you could see us, implementing that would make your experience better? We know it's really hard to send out a Survey Monkey or a demand force or whatever. It's just always better to get that verbal communication going with our guests to really understand, how they like the experience at Lunatic Fringe and what we can do to be better. And that's been amazing. But, above and beyond it and everything else is like, I know for me, if I go to a great restaurant, I won't complain about price as long as the food and service is amazing, right?
Great.
And, that's kind of where we want to be. So yes, I mean, this person goes around, it's physical interaction. They are really asking what we can do for them. And you know what? Some people ask us to order them a salad, and you know what? We'll do it. If that's what they're asking for, we'll do it. So that's been really cool, and it's really been amazing in terms of the feedback.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because I've been talking to our salon leaders, asking them what type of feedback are you getting from your guests, and how can we get more feedback, and they just keep sticking to our usual text surveys, but the real-time surveys, just asking them, hello, big light bulb moment for me. Thank you for that. We're definitely going to start to utilize that idea. Talk to us about, what do you think is going to make sustainability for salons right now? What's your opinion? What do you think needs to happen? What do you think? I know it's a full-fledged question. What do you think is going to cause salons to close over this next year? What do you think is going to help them stay open?
Well, I think the thing that's going to help any business in this pandemic stay open is the commitment to excellence. There's nothing more attractive than anyone in any sector committing to excellence in their systems and in the way they do business in general. I think, indifference is going to be the killer for a lot of salon companies. Obviously the pandemic does, create problems, especially in places like California where they're still closed. Hopefully they get more stimulus and things like that. But for those of us that are able to open up and actually business, it's that commitment to excellence and, really get out of that indifference phase. Although there are still some unknowns, I know for Angie and I, we don't know what's going to happen next week or in a month, but what we do today is going to be amazing. And I think staying present in that mindset is really, really important, because we can all get overwhelmed with what might happen. It's more important to be worrying about what you can do today to make things amazing.
Absolutely. I
You know,
know.
and for those of us that are working on systems, really now's a good time to really develop those systems, prototype those systems. You know, if you're only, able to work at 50% capacity, what better time than to prototype, systems that you maybe wanted to try out. I think right now is a really good time to do that and just kind of throw pasta on the wall and see what sticks.
I love that. I'm always telling my teams, Shawn and Angie, if you're doing something that's not a part of our system, let's make it a system. Or if you're seeing something that's missing, and so enroll your whole team into that. And so our entire team has been the ones that have been writing those systems. And when we do coach salon owners, that's what we train them to do. And Shawn and I love to work with the salon owner's number one person, because we know they're the ones who are going to have the most influence with the team, right? To be able to make that happen. So
Sure.
I think that's absolutely amazing. I know you guys have a huge retail culture in your salons. Talk to us, because that's a little bit low for us. It's definitely lower than we want it to be. Where are you guys at percentage wise, and how do you do it?
Well, since we have so many locations, I'll just kind of speak to our flagship. And, we're at about 18% retail to service.
Wow.
Sometimes some months we can push 20%. It is huge, and we're very transparent about what that component does for the business, right? I mean, that's the main area where we can create profitability, and we in turn remind them what we're doing with this profitability. That profit and that cash flow goes to their extended education. It goes to having support staff. It goes to having the guest host individual. It really helps us afford those extra levels of customer service that help the salon and them retain the guests that are coming in. And, the thing that I know is really difficult for a lot of salons to grasp onto is, the remodel process after 6 or 7 years. What needs to be updated? What changes do you need to make to your physical facility? And, the retail component is massive when it comes to helping us do things like that. We're on a constant remodel rotation, and it happens about every 6 or 7 years.
Wow, that's so good. What do you guys do differently? Do you pay commission? What is how do you get your team to sell retail? I have so many salon owners just ask me, how can I help my team to sell retail? How can I motivate them?
So yeah, we do pay commission, and we have a baseline that you have to get over to even get the commission, but and then it kind of slides as that those sales go up. But for us, and I think for our team, what they've come to understand, what we've all come to understand, is it's really retail is a part of customer service. And it's a part of how they're able to take care of their hair at home and continue to make it look like it did as if they left the salon. And, just those benefits that provides, because, it does no good to spend $300 or $400 on a cut and color and then use something off the drugstore shelf. Bad part about that is, oftentimes they're not blaming the shampoo for their color looking bad. They're blaming the stylist and us as a salon. So, it's really it's part of our reputation. It's protecting our reputation. But more importantly, it's about it's simply good customer service.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's all about the customer service. Do you spend a lot of time in your coaching appointments with them on dialogue?
We do. We do have scripts that we give them as a foundation to work off of, although we encourage them to continue to develop their own, verbal communication with their guests, the more experience they get. And we find that, a lot of people use, a couple of different ways to make that happen. And, we honor that, but we do give them a good foundation for that.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me about how much do your highest earners make within your company, not only service-wise, but also retail-wise?
Yeah, I mean, so we've got a few stylists that, they're bringing in about $22,000 to $26,000 a month in service and retail, and their retail numbers are, about 18 to 20% of that. And one component I think that deserves mentioning is treatments. What treatments can do for a person's business. It's something that you can directly affect your income right now. If you're having a fairly quiet day in the chair, what can you do to enhance that day? And that's a really, really easy thing to do, and it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it always surprises me the amount of stylists that don't do treatments. And even for me, one of my stylists finally offered me a treatment, and my hair looks so much better after a treatment.
Yeah.
But it's been probably 2 years since I've had one. And so what do you think causes stylists to not offer treatments, and talk to them right now why they should?
Well, I think the main thing that causes people to not do that very beneficial upsell is, sometimes we get caught up, it's going to be too expensive for them, or, we're kind of shopping with our own wallet, so to speak. And that's really unfair. I think, if you have something that can take your service to the next level and your earning to the next level, let's be honest, like a lot of us want that premium or super premium client. And the bottom line is they can afford it. And not only can they afford it, they want to do it, especially when they feel and see the results. So, get your own wallet out of the picture and make sure that, you believe in what you're selling. And all you have to really do is give it a shot yourself, and you know and understand what that does. But, in all fairness, give them the opportunity to say no, and no is a perfectly acceptable answer, and that's okay. But give them that opportunity.
I agree. I think one of the biggest mindset challenges that we all have as human beings is fear of rejection, and being rejected. And it's okay if they say no, right? I love what you said there. So let's say someone is listening to you and thinking, man, my company's not doing as great as Shawn and Angie. I would love to own a Lunatic Fringe franchise. Are you opening it up for people to buy into, become a franchise owner with you guys still? What's next for both of you, and how can people get a hold of you?
Well, in terms of franchising, the answer is yes. But, what we like to do is we like to meet people face to face. We like to have several interactions with who our potential partners are going to be. You can go to our website and you can access, the franchise questionnaire and stuff like that online. But, the answer is yes, but we are really, really picky in terms of who that is. And we've had exceptional luck so far, and we want to keep that going. So yeah, we will do it. It just really depends on whether we, it's got to be the like-minded thing going on.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're saying you're really picky about who you pick. And kind of goes back to the very conversation we were having earlier, is sometimes we don't get so picky and we allow some people on our teams that shouldn't be on our teams, right? And so I was actually talking to my stylist, and I said, do you have an ideal client that you have? And they're like, no, they're just like everybody. And it's like, oh my gosh, so why don't you just make a dream board of your ideal client? What would that look like? And Shawn and I actually sat down and we said, you know what, we're gonna make that ideal future partner, and what do they look like in our companies. And we actually chose the book by Patrick Lencioni. It's called The Ideal Team Player. They have to be humble, hungry, and smart. And it's such a simple book, Shawn, that you would be like, oh my gosh, this is so simplified. I love this. And so that's really what we're looking for. and really honing into that. And that's our future partner. That's what it looks like. What's your future partner look like? So what types of qualities would they need to have in order to partner with you?
Well, it's exactly that. One thing that we take pride in is we hire on attitude. A resume is just contact information for us. We really like to sit with people, with potential team members, just try to get to know them and understand them. And I think anybody that's been in business long, your intuitive, for us, it's our hiring process is solely on attitude.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to add that's huge. I've been stopped in the mall in Salt Lake by someone that says, "Oh, I go to your Boise location, and they do such an amazing job, and it's such a great guest experience." And we have to remember that, anyone that owns a franchise, because consistency is huge, right? We have people that will go to Nashville to get their hair done. So it's really important to know that what one person does is going to affect the other, not just in Salt Lake City, but our reputation, and our business can be affected by people that, are not doing, following our systems or, having as great of a guest experience, because people will go there just knowing, oh, Lunatic Fringe, I've been there in Salt Lake City, or I've been there in another state. So it's really important that, all locations are running business the same.
Yeah, no, that's really, really powerful. And I know you go to lunaticfringesalon.com in order to find out more. Any last piece of advice that you want to give salon owners today, Shawn and Angie? And thank you so much for being on our call today.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having us. I think just knowing what we've been through, the biggest thing for me is really just stick to your vision, stay true to it. Don't veer from it. If you question yourself at times or you feel that people don't believe, that just means they shouldn't be on your team or working for your company, but it doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing. Just find people that align with your values. And I think, you have to believe in your values and live them for your company to truly be successful. So find those people, attract a team that's a fit for you, and make sure everyone in your building is a fit for you and believes in your vision. And that's how your vision truly comes to life. It can never be done by just the two of us or by you yourself. It's got to be done by a team and people that believe and are on board, because they're the ones making it happen with you every day. And here's Shawn.
Yeah, and I think really focus on building the leaders around you. And, Angie makes a great point. It's not just her and I now. Now we have an amazing leadership team. And, they're also part of that group that helps, give us good sustainability, great coaching measures and things like that. But, I know one thing that we're always thinking about, and that is, how can we do better business more efficiently and really impact and add value to the people, not only that are working with us, but our guests too.
Yeah. 100%. That's a perfect way to end this call. I thank you both so much for being on today. You both are just absolutely amazing.
Thanks, Tina. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Take care. Bye, Angie.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.